Hi there, and welcome back to another episode of ClearScope TV. Hey, are you a business owner? You're running Zoho CRM, or you may not be running a CRM, but you might be thinking about one. And you've probably heard the term pipeline before, and deals or opportunities, and you're thinking, right, how can I best utilize a tool like Zoho CRM to manage my pipeline? So in this video, what we're going to do is have a look at Zoho CRM's pipeline management system, which is in some cases you might see it being called opportunities. In others, it's called deals. They kind of mean the same thing. But what we're going to do in this video is have a look at what you can do inside Zoho CRM to manage your opportunities, improve your conversion rate, increase your success, and just make your business a better business. All right, so with that, let's get into it. Okay, so the first place that you want to start is obviously from the with inside Zoho CRM is inside the opportunities module. Now, quick note here, yours might be called deals. Depends on where you've installed Zoho from, but typically they'll either be called opportunities or deals. I'm not sure why they sort of changed the name. It depends on who you are. Here in Australia, we typically call these sorts of things opportunities, but I think in the US they probably call them deals more often, whatever it is. They both basically mean the same thing. So to access deals and opportunities, you just want to jump into the deals or opportunities modules, okay? And then once you're in there, you can access the opportunities. But I think the first thing that we want to do is we want to have a talk about what's the difference. What is a deal? What is an opportunity? Now, many of you out there, you probably already know, right? But for those that don't, or for those that do, skip ahead. But for those that don't, let's talk about them, right? Because it's very important that when you're structuring tools like Zoho CRM, is you think through this business process, all right, so that you're able to understand, right, how should I set it up? How should I get it to replicate my current workflow? So that when I actually ask my users to um, to do it, they're going to understand at least what the workflow is. They may not know exactly straight off from the get-go what to do, but at least they'll sort of understand the workflow and you'll be able to explain it to them. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a whiteboard and we're going to have a little talk through the difference between opportunities and deals. What are they? Hi, Peter here from ClearScope Solutions. Thanks for watching our videos. We really love making them. If you've got any questions whatsoever, comment or reach us, come and ask us directly. If you've got a second, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell just to get notified when we create a new video. But also, if you've got a bit of time, please jump onto our website, clearscope.solutions, and just check us out. We've got a lot of experience in Zoho where we might be able to help you, but also have a look at some of our Zoho CRM extensions such as Logix One Operator, a field service management tool, Logix One Chat, a chat tool with AI integration so it can automatically respond to your customer inbound chats. Our B2B portal lets your customers, especially wholesale customers, place orders directly into the CRM. Logix One Consolidator is our consolidating tool. What it does is it allows you to select, say, multiple sales orders or invoices inside CRM and then convert or combine all of those into one invoice. So for things like monthly billing, that type of thing. Logix One Sync to Zoho Finance is a great tool. What it does is it can sync a quote or a Zoho CRM invoice or sales order into, say, Zoho Books. So you can create an invoice inside Zoho CRM, click a button, and bang, that invoice now exists inside Zoho Books. Zoho CRM cannot do that. Okay, a lot of people think it can, but it can't. It can do something close, but not really. And then Logix One Easy Quote is our quotation tool. You can create a quote inside Zoho CRM. You press a button, it'll give you a link, send that to the customer. The customer can view that quote online and can accept it, and then that will come back as an approved quote inside your CRM. So yeah, we've got lots of stuff, plus some of our details about us, our consulting capabilities, some use cases. Have a look at those. But of course, if you've got any questions at all, please reach us out directly. Book a meeting online with us or email us, WhatsApp us if you want to. We'll be ready to. Okay, so we're back here on my whiteboard. Hopefully you can see that quite carefully and or quite comfortably, and I'll do my best to sort of walk through this slowly so that you understand the concept of what we're talking about here. Now, again, many of you might already know this, so this might be a refresher, or you might not need to go over it again, so please skip forward. But if you don't, this is for you. So the first thing we need to do is really, for our business, we need to define how we treat the different parts of our sales process. All right, so if you look at any sort of current form or typical type of sales process, you're either calling customers. All right, these might be some of the ways that you get business. You might be calling, you might be doing Google ads. All right, so these are typically inbound type of marketing campaigns. You might be sending out mailers. You might be doing TV advertising. You might have sales reps. All right, and so on, right? So what this part of the sales process is actually coming up with ways of finding what we call leads. Okay, so once we are out there, we're calling customers, we're doing Google ads, or we're sending out emails, or we're doing TV ads, or our sales reps are out on the road talking to customers. What they're doing primarily from the beginning is they're generating leads. And so if we define a lead, it's typically what we like to call, sort of the slang term is a sniff of an opportunity. That means we sort of smell that there's something happening here. There's a potential opportunity here. There's something that this customer is interested for a product that we sell. And so what we need to do is walk the customer through, take them along the journey, right? So a good example of a lead might be if you've got outbound phone callers and they're calling customers, and one of the customers says, yeah, I'm interested, or you've got a Google ad, and the Google ad sparks somebody's interest, and they click on your website and they fill out a form. Okay, that typically will become a lead. You might be doing email campaigns, same thing. You might be doing TV ads, right, where someone sees your ad, you've got your 1-300 number on it, and then they call that, and then that again becomes a lead. And then you've got your sales reps, right? Your sales reps are on the road and they're talking to people, or they're not going door to door, or they're at conferences or whatever it might be. They're talking to someone and someone says, hey, what do you do? Oh, I work for this company. And what do you do? Oh, we make widgets. Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm interested in widgets. Well, that's a lead. Okay. So that's the first step, number one, of the sales process. Now, this is very generic and very cut down, right? And there's different, depending on the type of sales training that you might have done. Yeah, there's lots of different. There's a lot of context that goes just into the leads part of the process. But for our purposes, that's basically what we call a lead. A lead is typically just an opportunity we are aware about. We don't have all the detail. We haven't really even qualified the customer. We just know that there might be a potential opportunity here. And that's where we start to turn things into opportunities. All right. So an opportunity is typically defined as a lead that you've converted now into an opportunity. So you have, leads, then it becomes an opportunity. All right, and then the opportunity, you start to run down the pipeline. All right, so the opportunity could be, well, actually you could have an opportunity that's still just a lead. All right, and then it turns into you've done a discovery call, and then you've turned it into, you've done a proposal, and then you've sent a quote, and then you're in negotiation phase, and then you're into closing. Okay, so a much more detailed process. And typically what you'll find is when you're talking about opportunities, we end up with our sales funnel. Okay, now, excuse my poor drawing, but I think it's just really talking through the concepts of it. Okay, and typically, again, if you do any sort of sales training, everybody's talking about funnels, okay, or a pipeline. And the concept of a pipeline is to load it with opportunities or deals. And typically, you start at the top. And if you remember, I had those different I had those different stages in the whiteboard before. Well, if we're looking at a funnel, which is an upside down funnel, the top row might be leads. Okay, so you might have a whole bunch of leads, and then you might have the next might be discovery. What do I mean by discovery? Well, discovery, typically, depending on the type of product that you sell, you want to discover what the client's needs are. Okay, and so once you have done that discovery, you're in a much better position to qualify. You can then you can then convert or transfer or change the stage of that opportunity from a lead into a discovery. Okay, and then you might get down to the next section, which is quotes. Okay, so you've done the discovery, so now you can quote, and then you'll get down to the next section, which once you've sent the quote, it might be negotiation. Okay, and then once you've done negotiation, you'll get down to closing. Okay, and then you get down to what we're all looking for is win or award. Okay. Now, the thing that you'll notice about this funnel is that, and I haven't really, probably more of a Y shape, but you'll notice that as we step down the pipeline, what this is doing is representing the amount of leads. Okay. So if we have here, this is the amount of leads that we have here. So you can see in leads, we've got a lot more leads down to our 1. And that's what when we refer to what's called the win ratio. Okay, so typically, your win ratio might be, if you're a long established company and you're quite well known, you're going to be something like 3 out of 10. Okay, so for every 10 leads that you get, you'll win 3. If you're a new business in highly competitive field, you might be down to 1 in 10. And so what this is doing is that what you can do is you can set a target. Okay, so you might say, right, our target for our win ratio is 1 in 10. Okay, so we know we win 1 out of every 10 deals that we find out about. So if we want to win 10, then that simply means we need 100 leads. Okay, so what this helps you do is sort of visualize or sort of incent or report back on how you're actually going or being able to review your business. So if you know that you're looking for 10 wins, you're going to need to fill your funnel up with 100 leads. Okay, so if this represents 100, okay, then we need to chock our pipeline full of 100 leads. But then when we get to discovery, we know not every lead is going to convert or transfer from the lead stage to the discovery stage. We might think that, okay, actually out of the leads, only 50% of those convert from lead to discovery. All right. So that would mean that you should be ending up with 50 discovery sessions, and then quotes. Could be getting down, okay, out of the discovery, half of those turn into quotes. So this becomes 25. And then from the 25, we might see again another half, let's say 12, that convert into the negotiation stage. And then out of those, we might lose 2, and then we're left with our 10. Okay, that we've actually won. So you can sort of see that process, right? Is that what we're trying to do is chock up the pipeline full of leads so that we can get to our win ratio of 1 in 10. All right, so we know our ratio is 1 in 10, so therefore we need to have 100 leads. All right, and so it's a really quick and efficient way. And if you're a business owner or you're a sales manager and you want to get a good capture, you want to get a rough feel for where you're at. Well, if you're not following this sort of process, you don't really know. And this is an easy way for you to be able to visualize that. You can use this to incent or manage your salespeople, like KPIs. You can put some KPIs in them. You can say, right, for every salesperson, you need to have 100 leads. Okay, and then if you've got 100 leads, you need to have 50 of those in discovery, and out of those, you need to have 25 that you're quoting, and so on and so forth. And now, on an individual basis, this might be a bit scattered. It might be not as sort of exact as this. You might have someone, depending on how good they are as salespeople, you might have someone that's only got, they might only have 20 leads. But what happens with them, because they're so good, they almost convert all of them, all right? Or they might not be so good, or they're new, and they actually need more than 100, right? They might need 200. But this is a really great way for you to be able to manage your business and see how your sales pipeline is going. All right, I should call this pipeline. These are some of the terms, or funnel. Okay, and they're all a part of the sales operations. Excuse my spelling. Sales operations process. Okay, so this is sort of what you're looking for. The other thing that you can do is you don't have to just use them as raw numbers. So, you need 100 leads to turn into 10 wins or 10 closed opportunities. You could turn this into dollar value. Okay. So you could say that, okay, let's say the target here is $100,000 over a given period. It might be like over a quarter. Well, if I want to win $100,000 in business over a quarter, what does that mean? How many leads does that mean I'm going to need to have? Well, it's pretty simple. It's $1 million. So you need $1 million worth of leads in your pipeline here to convert those down based on your 1 in 10 conversion ratio to get $100,000 in actual revenue. Now, of course, these are not exact. All right, there's like anything in sales, it's a bit of a mixture. It's a bit of a black art plus science. But the more data that you can throw at things, the more confident you are in being able to sort of predict these things. And that's really what we're looking for out of our sales process or sales operation process. We're looking for predictability. Okay, and we're looking to scale. All right, so we're being able to do more with them, and then success. That's what we're looking for here. All right, so that's why we sort of run these pipelines, just to do that. Now, many people, what they'll do is I'll have a spreadsheet. All right, so let's just talk about that for a second. Okay, all right. Okay, here we are back in the CRM, and you can see I'm in the opportunities module. All right, again, you might see it as deals, but it's called opportunities or deals. And here are all of our opportunities. And so basically here's where all the action happens. And so what you want to do is you want to be able to set up ways or set up the opportunity management system for you and to suit your business. As I was talking about before in your whiteboard, deciding on what do we term it, what do we classify as an opportunity, what is, what isn't, what sort of information do we want to collect from the customer, and how do we want to manage this process based on our best practice. Okay, so this is where you sort of do these sort of things. So the important thing to note though is that, as again mentioned in the whiteboard session, then what you need to do is firstly understand at what point do you convert leads into opportunities. All right, so this is our leads module. And again, it's entirely up to you as to whether you actually do that. Now, we've got some customers is that depending on the type of business that they've got, they only create leads. But then we've got others that only create opportunities. We've got some that don't even use opportunities. But if you're a business that is typically going after new business and they're sizable chunks of business, then you probably do want to run opportunities. But it's best to actually run them through the normal sales process, which is, firstly they become a lead and then they convert into an opportunity. So let's start there. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll create a dummy lead. All right, so here we'll just say what the inquiry is for. Now, again, with Zoho CRM, the great thing about Zoho CRM is you can customize all of these modules. So I can take this lead information here. See, I've got an inquiry form. Well, if I click the edit page layout, whoops, you'll see here that that's that inquiry form, inquiry for field here. And you can create all your own fields in here if you want. All right, you can customize it to sort of match what it is that you do. All right, but let's just close that. Sorry, let's just jump back into that lead. A good way to get back to something inside Zoho CRM quickly is you see this little clock here with the arrow circle. That's called the recent items button. So if you just click that, you can sort of jump back into your last record. All right, so we'll just jump back in here. Actually, we're in the leads module, and then we were creating a lead. So let's create a lead. And it's going to be an inquiry for Logix 1 General, and then we'll put the name in here. We'll just use that sort of something really generic now, test lead. And then we'll put the email address here, fill out all this information where, all of this is customized for our sales process, okay? So we can sort of use this to manage and report back on how successful were our different sort of marketing generation or lead generation campaigns that we're doing. All right. So basically, we've got a lead here. We might have more detail in here, about the amount, what we're actually been talking to the customer. We'll just save that. All right. So there's that lead here. So there's the basic information on the lead, but then here's everything else that's related to it, okay? So any email, so if I send this lead an email, that will show here. If I have a meeting with this lead, that can show here. If I can upload attachments, it could be brochures, it could be anything, Excel spreadsheets, it doesn't really matter. If I'm using Logix 1 Chat, I can see any chat messages to this contact, whether it be SMS, WhatsApp, or via the web. I can see those there. So you can sort of see, you get this 360 view of what the lead is, all right? But we're here to talk about opportunities, not about leads. So once we've got the lead, and then we decide, okay, right, this lead is important enough to convert into a opportunity. So all you need to do is come up to this little convert button here and click convert. Okay, so once I click that convert button, we're then able to create a new opportunity for this. And if you click that create new opportunity here, then you see here what you can do is fill these fields out, and you'll notice that the fields here in red are mandatory. All right, so they're required. You cannot move forward without filling those out, but you can actually modify those based on the way you've got the opportunities module set up from within inside customization. So what we basically do is fill those out. So I can basically say, it's going to close on that date, the opportunity name, and then the stage. And so it's these stages that we're going to select here. And I'm going to show you after this section how to create those stages. And the stages, they relate back to that pipeline module that we showed back here. So what type of stages do you want your sales team to fill out here? All right, so let's say, well, it's a lead, but let's say, no, now we've actually qualified it. So we've spoken to the customer. We can put a value in here. So we've said, right, anything that's $10,000 and above is going to become an opportunity. Currency, if you want, and then solution. These are custom fields that we've put in there. And then the next step, follow up on quote. All right. And so these are just basically note fields, and then the contact role of the actual customer. So this is the person here, test is the name, test lead. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select them as the developer evaluator. All right. And then we just click convert. And so what that will do is it's created a contact. You can also get the system to basically create an account as well. Or what you can do is basically just create the opportunity then associate it to an account. And I'll show you that in the next step. So what it's done in this conversion step is it's created a contact called test lead and it's created an opportunity called test lead. Well, let's jump into the test lead here, the opportunity. All right, so here we go. Now, before we talk about the pipeline at the top, let's talk about the fields here. Again, these Zoho CRM comes with native fields that are already here, but you can create your own. And you can see here, we've got a bunch of them that are separate to um, separate to or non-native or customized to meet our business requirements. So what I can do in here, I can come in here and change the opportunity name. I can say test lead is looking for a new Zoho environment, right? So I can save that there, and then I can see it's got no account name here. I can associate it to an account if you like. So I can search for my accounts, or I could create a new one. But what you'll notice that this opportunity is related to test leads here. All right, so you can see the test lead. And so this is an important concept to understand about really any CRM, is that we have this thing called relationals, or what's related to what fields and what other modules are related to this. And this is where I come back to when I was talking about a spreadsheet. CRM is like a spreadsheet on steroids because it's not just a flat spreadsheet that's listing opportunities. It's three-dimensional. It basically will connect to all of your other modules. So I can click on this test lead here. Sorry. I can open up the test lead. And then you can see here under opportunities, there's that opportunity right there. So yeah, so that basically you can see it sort of it's like a 360 view of this contact. So if this contact's got multiple opportunities, I can see them here. If this contact's got multiple meetings, any of their emails, everything is stored centrally, and it's very quick and easy to get to that information, right, which is really important for ongoing management and for reporting. All right, but let's just jump back into that lead. Oh, sorry, into that opportunity. All right, so now we're in the opportunity. And so what's important here is that you can see at the top here, we've got our, what you would call your pipeline. And if you remember going back to that whiteboard, you can see across the top, we've got our stages here. And these are our stages that basically correspond to that funnel that we had. So if we look here, we've got our different stages. So from lead to qualification. And in our business practice, we have needs analysis. This is where we're understanding the customer's needs, and then we have shortlisted. Has the customer shortlisted us, and we're awaiting reply, and so on. all right, until we get to close process, closed and in progress, close completed, close lost, gone cold, and so on. All right, so these are all of our stages here, and they can be changed by you or the salesperson. But the other thing that's important to note about Zoho CRM and things like deals or opportunities is that you'll notice on the left-hand side here, we've got our related list. And our related list shows us everything that's related to this opportunity. So you firstly can see we've got a contact roles and a contact that is associated directly to this opportunity. So you can see here, test lead is the contact for this opportunity, the customer contact. And if you remember, if we go down to contact roles, you remember when we converted the lead to a role, to an opportunity, we had to select the role. And here you can see that that test lead, the contact is the developer and evaluator. Now, yeah, I can add attachments here. I can send emails from this opportunity. I can create meetings. I can add products. I can do quotes. You name it, anything that I can do in the CRM, I can create from within this opportunity and then basically tag it, if you like, as associated to that opportunity. So if I want to come and look here and see, well, what's going on with that opportunity, I've got everything here. All I need to do is open it up. I can see the emails. I can see the quotes that we've done. And I get a real 360-degree picture. And if you recall when I was talking about CRM being like a 3D spreadsheet, that's basically what I mean by that. Spreadsheet is just a flat 2D thing, okay? It's just going to show you these fields, but it's not going to allow you, I mean, you could get it to do it, but it's a lot of work, to click on the contact to see how many leads or how many emails or how many deals are associated with that contact and so forth. All right. The other thing that it will allow you to do in opportunities, if I scroll down here, you can see we've got the stage history here. So every time I change the stage, this stage history will update. All right. So I can see what's happening. I can see when that was actually done, how long it was in that stage for, and so forth. So what that means is I can do a report on deals that have stayed in the same stage for 30 days. And then I can go to the salesperson in question and say, hey, you need to be updating these. Otherwise, you're either not talking to the customer or you're not updating your deals or your opportunities. All right. So it helps you do that. Again, as I mentioned, you can send an email from here. And in fact, you can also run mail merge from here if you want. So you can send templates to the customer. And in actual fact, we are about to release kind of a similar tool to mail merge here, which is selecting mail merge documents. Instead of having to go from here and clicking run mail merge here, you'll be able to actually do it from here. So there'll be a link here that you'll be able to click and you'll be able to create a merge document from here and send it to them. And then that document will attach to the opportunity. All right, so it's going to be a really great tool. So you can create templates and proposal documents and all that sort of stuff and have them all inside the opportunity itself without having to go outside the system, just doing everything to make it simple and easier to use. All right, so let's come back to the pipeline, which is kind of really important. So here's where you're changing the stages, right? As I mentioned, we've gone from lead to qualification, and then let's say we do a discovery session with the client. We can change the need analysis as being completed, and then we can add notes here if you like as well under notes of what's happening on the different stage. And then we could actually come here and let's say we won it, we can click it to close one, and then we can put the amount that we won and then save it. All right, so now that's a close one. So you might be thinking, right, how do I set this up, right? This is what's really important, and this is what you need to think about spending your time on. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to jump into the settings and set that up. So what we do is come to settings, and then we go to, under customization, we go to modules and fields. and then we look for the opportunities module, and here we've got our 3 little dots. Click that, and then we click our stage probability mapping link here. And here's where we set up all of our stages. All right, you'll notice that these correspond to the stages that I had there. And so what we've got across here is we've got the lead name, the probability. And you'll remember when I talked about on that whiteboard about assigning a probability to an opportunity, that's where we put that in here. So you can see that, well, this lead has got a 0 probability because we don't expect to win. We're not going to count any of those into our budgeting or our forecasting. All right. You can see the category of it. So if it's a lead, it's open. And then the forecast category here is pipeline, best case, or committed. Now, these are important because actually, I'll talk about those in a little bit. Let's just go through these. You can see that I can delete them here, or I can add other ones in. But let's look at some of these other ones like need analysis. Okay, need analysis is here, and it's got a probability of 30. What that's basically saying is that if a deal's we've done a need analysis session on it, we've got a 30% chance of winning that piece of business. All right, and so you can see that it's 30%. Still, the record category is open, and the forecast category is pipeline. Now, as we move down the funnel, we become shortlisted, our probability of winning goes up. All right, so the further we go down the sales process, the more likely we are to win. Therefore, the higher the probability. Awaiting reply, in trial. Obviously, if people are in trial, they're highly likely to order. And then procurement, and then close one. Now, you can see when we get to close one, the record category becomes close one, all right? And then it's closed, all right? So we're not really counting it anymore because we've already won it, okay? Same for, if we scroll down here to close lost, you can see here that it's closed lost, and therefore it's got a 0% probability, all right? And it's not included in the forecast. But what you might be thinking about is what are some of these other options here? We've got best case and committed. So what you can do is you can actually say to your salespeople, right, when a deal gets to in trial, I want you, Mr. Sales or Mrs. Salesperson, I want you to tell me whether that's best case or committed. Are you committing that to your forecast or not? Or is it just best case? Okay, so it helps you with your, say, quarterly forecasting. You can set that type of stuff up. All right, you can actually enable colors if you like to make it a bit prettier and sort of give you a bit better visual effect. But that's pretty basically how you would set that up. And again, each company is different, okay? So your business is going to be very different. You might have 2 different companies that are in exactly the same industry, and I guarantee you they will have different ways of doing this. No 2 companies are alike when it comes to opportunity management, or at least I've never seen one. They're similar, but they're not the same. So yeah, so that's it. The other thing that you might like to look at is the timeline here. So the timeline, you can see this is actually a timer. You'll find timeline on every record inside CRM basically. And here you can see what's actually happened over the event of it. All right, so that when the changes are actually happening. So it's really good from a reporting perspective. All right, so that's basically looking at that. The next thing we want to do is we're going to go and have a look at reporting. Hi there, Peter here. Hey, I really hope you're enjoying the video. Please like and subscribe. Okay, we spend a lot of time building these videos, so we really appreciate you liking and subscribing to them, so you can get updated anymore. If you've got any questions whatsoever about Zoho and you want an answer, then reach out to us. Jump onto our website. We've got a new tool that allows you to chat directly with us and answer any questions that you may have about Zoho. But if you want to book a meeting and you want to sit down and have a free 1 hour one-on-one session and talk about where you're going with your business, how you might be able to do more with Zoho CRM and some other tools like AI integration. Love to jump on a call with you and discuss those things. So please do that. Jump onto our website, clearscope.solutions, link below. And yeah, let's have a chat. Why not? It's free. You never know. You might get something out of it, and good way to meet people. So anyway, thanks for watching. Let's jump back into the video. Okay, so now you're collecting this data, you know, your reps are updating it, and you've really got a bunch of data, right? Obviously, the next thing you're going to want to be able to do is do some reporting on it. There's multiple different ways, and I'm just going to cover off sort of a couple of them pretty at a high level, right? But you can basically jump in and do some of this stuff by yourself. You know, probably the easiest way to look at any sort of reporting inside Zoho CRM is by doing it actually inside what we call the list view mode here. So here, oh sorry, the list view mode of CRM. So that's what we call here. So you can see what's the list view is basically this is a list of all the records. So these are a list of all the opportunity records. And if I was to open up quotes, then this would be the list view of all the quotes. Okay, so here's all the quotes and so on. This is the same for every module. So if I jump back into opportunities, you can see here's my list of all opportunities. Now, you can run reports, right? You can basically go to reports here. Okay, and then I can drop this box down here. I can go to opportunity reports, and then let's click the stage versus opportunity type report. And so here's that information here. So you can see how very quick it is to actually create those reports. You can turn it into a graph, and then you can edit this report and change things like the columns that you show, the filters that you're running the report on. So show me it for this quarter, or show me it for last quarter, and so on. It's really easy to do that in here. Let's jump back out of that. So that's the reports module. Okay, but what you can do is you can really quickly sort of get that quick detail from actually the list records, because you can use here the filters on the left hand side. All right, so I can say for filters, show me the date. Let me say closing date is before, let's just say the end of the year, end of this July. Okay, and click apply filter. All right, and here's all of those that are closing before that period of time. All right, and then if you want, you can say, you know, show me owner. If I just type in owner here, show me all the opportunities that the opportunity owner is, and here's all my users, right? So here would be all your sales reps. So you can do that from there. So really easy way for you to be able to quickly see. In addition to the list view, if you click this little one up here called Kanban view, click that, then this is, as you guessed it, we'll lay them out as a Kanban. All right. So here they are here. And so you can see they're listed like cards underneath the different stages. And you can modify the opportunities based on the stages. Okay. So I can drag and drop them into the different stages, and you can see over here I've got all of mine here. So that's another way to look at it. You can look at them in grid view. We don't really use the grid view, but it's basically the same as the list view. And in here, you can come in here and you can actually change the account name here, right? This is a relatively new feature from Zoho, something we've been asking for many, many years. But you can actually come in here and actually select the account here. All right. So if anything's quick, you don't have to actually open up the actual underlying record. All right, you can come in here and change it. All right, you can actually come here and go to the more options and delete it. So I'm just going to delete that run because it was the test one. Okay, and so that's a really easy way to update that. And it's a good way to show your salespeople how they can quickly update their opportunities. All right. We've got a chart view. All right, so you can create all your charts here. You can see. And then we've got a timeline view based on, the closing dates and those sort of date fields that you've got inside the opportunities themselves. So a lot of different options here that you can do from a reporting perspective. And then if you want to take it to the next level, you can integrate this to Zoho Analytics and then get even more detail on each of your. Okay, well, there you go. That is opportunities or deals, depending on what you've got in your CRM. I hope you enjoyed that. It's really a great feature and probably one of the core features of any CRM. And actually, Zoho does it really, really well. They've sort of, from the ground up, even from the beginning more than 10 years ago, they've always had a reasonably good way of managing sales pipeline. It's important that you have this type of system in your business because what it can do is help you forecast or be more or create more predictability in your business, which is something you always want to have. You can get a much better insight into what the financial reality is or what the financial forecast is of your business. If you've got $1 million in the pipeline and you know that your conversion rate is 1 in 3, then you know that for any given, say, quarter, let's say it's $1 million in pipeline for a quarter, then you're probably going to come in around about that $300,000 mark. And then you can use that to sort of set growth targets for your sales teams. So you can sort of say, right, okay, we know our conversion rate is this. Okay, last quarter we did 300,000. We want a 15% quarter-on-quarter growth. Then, okay, next quarter it's going to be this. So now we don't need $1 million worth of deals in the pipeline per quarter. We need $1.2 million, okay, to hit that growth target. And this is what the sophisticated companies do, such as Dell and Cisco and these types of people. They're doing that across their whole sales team, keeping people accountable, keeping people focused on what they need to achieve in the business. So again, please like and subscribe. Please make any comments. If you've got any comments about this or any other questions or you've got a different way of doing things, we'd love to see those in the comments. Get involved. But again, don't forget, if you've got any questions about Zoho, don't forget to reach out to us. All right, thanks for watching.